Coming up on this episode of FAS TV. We're in the northeast to meet the farmer increasing the efficiency of his suckler herd. We meet the diversifying dairy farmers introducing on-farm vending machines. We look at how to reduce the carbon footprint of arable farms. And the manager of the Glenrinnes estate has some advice for his younger self. At Lower Mill of Tynet Farm near Buckie, Gordon and June Whiteford farm with their young family. The couple have recently invested in an on-farm food and milk vending machine in which they sell their own eggs, milk and home bakes along with other local produce. We hear from them about what they are doing to produce high quality, high welfare, local and sustainable produce for their farm shop.
So I grew up in a beef and sheep farm in Ayrshire, and I was going to move away from farming altogether to study medicine, and then encountered Gordon several years later when I was working in Raymond Hospital in Inverness.
So I was brought up on a dairy farm in Ayrshire. I didn't have the succession to carry on in that business. My father came out of the farming business, but I went to agricultural college and I went down a sort of farm management route, and then really decided I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to be my own boss.
The tenancy for this place came up in 2012.
We farm organically, traditional mixed farming. To me, organic farming is built on that ethics of traditional farming. I think a few years ago I did a sort of Nuffield scholarship, and purely by accident I started looking more at soil health. And how, to create a healthy soil you need diversity, and that's not just diversity in the plants that you grow, but diversity in the stock that you keep. And we're just trying to be as diverse as possible, as self-sufficient as possible. We grow grass for the sheep and cattle, a predominantly really high forage diet. We then grow a bit of companion crops. We combine it mixed, and we feed it to the hens dried. We also grow things like barley, peas and oats, and we combine that, and that's the only grain that the cows get a little bit of grain, the milking cows. So everything the cows are getting is 100% grown on the farm. We really want to develop the farm shop, the retail. We're almost blown away with how successful it has been in the past year.
So the shop opened in its current form in July. We got the go-ahead to start retailing our milk in August last year.
Our number one, majority of our milk is sold through a vending machine. We supply a little bit of milk wholesale to some of our original, or we've got an ice cream maker that takes milk off us as well. So because I had dairying background, I've worked in a lot of dairy farms, I've always wanted to establish my own dairy. We're in the wrong part of the country to have a dairy farm. There's only 2 dairy farms in the whole of Murrayshire. There's none left in Banffshire, which we cross over both. We looked into, why don't we just have a micro dairy and sell milk? The only farm in the whole of Murrayshire you can buy milk from.
The couple aren't afraid of doing things differently. Their dairy is a cow with calf operation, and they're innovating in their poultry enterprise too, with their flock of white laying hens.
We've done the eggs for quite a few years. We've had a vending machine at the farm for eggs for a number of years as well. 2015 I did a Nuffield scholarship, and I went to parts of Europe, and I met a lot of farms that were keeping white birds, predominantly decalbs. There's 2 or 3 different breeds out there. And they were telling me how good these birds were and how efficient they were, and then I learned that in the UK it was all white eggs up until about the 60s, and the consumer started to associate, because it was all cage production back then, the consumer associated white eggs with cages and stopped buying them. So it's a fashion thing that made us all go brown eggs. And across the world there's more white hens. If you just look at the egg, the yolk's slightly bigger and the shell strength is so much better. But the bird, the longevity of the bird, they just don't die. We don't see mortality. They're a slightly smaller bird, so they're more efficient, they eat less, but they live. We are keeping birds to 90 weeks of age, because the industry needs to be 72 weeks. Some producers are taking them closer to 80 weeks, but they're not hitting 90 weeks. And we actually think we could go near 100 weeks. They do in other parts of Europe. So the industry told us we would never sell white eggs. No one wanted a white egg in the UK. I spoke to it was a total punt. We put 3,000 birds in and didn't know if we could sell the eggs. So we asked one or two of our big customers, are you bothered about shell colour? And I don't be daft, throw it in the bin.
Gordon and June have adopted another innovative farming practice in their dairy enterprise, in which young calves are reared by their mothers until they are weaned at 6 to 7 months old, while still milking the mothers.
I've always been quite sort of open-minded to how other farmers do things. I think it's easy to see, to do what your father did and your grandfather did and what your neighbours do. And, if you broaden your horizons, Nuffield Scholarship really helped. Travel to Europe, South Africa, Kenya, America, and you see farmers doing some fantastic stuff, and you wonder, why are we not doing it like that? It's just a kind of penny drop sometimes. Organic farmers, they are building organic matter, and they're seeing the health return to the soil. They're seeing more biodiversity, and for me, it's just the right way to farm.
I think we make quite a good use of social media to try and bring these messages across. We're all about trying to close that gap between farm and fork.
Tucked away in the hills near Bankery in Aberdeenshire is Meikle Maldron, an upland livestock farm producing grass for grazing, silage and forage crops. Together with his fiancée Claire Johnson, Duncan Morrison runs the firm alongside their fencing contracting business. With many demands on their time, the couple have adopted a highly efficient, low-labour farming system with a strong focus on improved grassland management.
So I'm Duncan Morrison, farm here at Meikle Maldron at Turfins. It's an upland farm. We run up to around 1,000 feet. I run this farm alongside 2 other farms, my home farm at Ingliston at Inverurie and also a contract farm unit at Kintor. I was born and brought up at Inverurie and on the family farm. It wasn't quite big enough for me to go home at that point once I left college, so I had a few different jobs looking around the northeast of Scotland and as a stockman, and I got quite a lot of experience with different livestock systems and different breeds. We run a herd of beef cows here. There's about 120 cows total, and they're made up of a herd of pedigree Aberdeen Angus and a herd of stabiliser cows, and the rest are commercial cows. When I first went self-employed around about 5 years ago, I needed an extra form of income to supplement the farming business right at the start. So the fencing business sort of grew from there. I knew that I always had to be away from home to earn money. So because of that, it sort of brought it into sharp focus that I needed to be efficient with my time. And when you need to be efficient with your time, you need to be efficient with your cattle. So I've had a big emphasis on easy calving cows that get on and do the job themselves, and all the way through the cycle from birth all the way through to weaning and finishing and selling, that I've had a real focus on making things easy. The fencing business has actually made me a better farmer as a result of that.
How does Duncan improve the efficiency of his suckler herd?
One of my main KPIs is cow-calf efficiency. So I'm looking to reduce my overall cow herd weight, but maintain a really good weaning weight. So we're weighing calves at birth, we are weighing calves at weaning, and we weigh the cows at weaning. So that gives a picture of which cows are more efficient than the rest. Certain animals aren't suited to this sort of system. We're looking to breed cattle that thrive in this system. The cow herd is grass and forage based all year round. The right sides, they winter on kale, and the calve outside on grass. They don't get any concentrates. The only concentrates that would be fed would be to finishing stock, and even then I'm trying to reduce that too. So I would never go back to calving indoors ever. The health is just, you can't beat it, and I actually find it much easier. You don't need a great deal of infrastructure. You just need cows that you can trust, that if we have to calve cows, then they get called out. Every cow is scored on docility, mothering ability. The calves are scored on their own vigour. So we're not keeping heifer calves that aren't vigorous at birth.
One of the key features of Duncan's system is the grassland management.
As a result of starting out with not a great deal of money, the grass was the thing that I could grow cheaply, and it is your cheapest feed, and it's really important in a livestock business that you utilise it to the best of its capabilities. I'd attended a few of the QMS grazing group meetings. I'd also travelled to New Zealand and seen their sort of dairy rotational grazing sort of systems and their sheep. So when I came home from New Zealand, I was quite keen on implementing that here, and it was just a natural path, just using what I had on farm, and it fits in with the system completely. I've split up my larger fields, I've subdivided them into paddocks of around 1 hectare or 2 hectares, and that allows me to fit them in so that a group of cows will be in that paddock for 2 to 3 days, and they'll be moved on, and that paddock won't be grazed again for 21 to 28 days, and that allows me to keep the grass quality to a maximum, and it allows me to utilise more grass and I grow more grass. I haven't put fertiliser on the grazing ground here since I've came to the farm, and the focus is purely on clover and low input production. I've also experimented a little bit with mixed species swards. We've grown chicory, plantain, red clover and white clover in various mixes. So we're trying to cut out fertiliser and make sure the soil's healthy and the plants are healthy, and therefore the stock's healthy. The best thing I've done to help clover is stop putting on nitrogen. The clover will come itself. It's always there, it's in the sward, it's in your grass seed mixes, but if you put a load of nitrogen on, you're going to stop it, and the clover will come. It's easy. The best thing you can do is nothing. We've done a carbon audit. We did that last February, and one of the key findings from that was that we needed to up our stocking rate. Your emissions in some ways are fixed, and yeah, if you have more stock on your farm, it not only makes your farm more efficient, but it means that your emissions are spread over a greater output. So that's something that I've taken on board. You can't overhaul the whole system straight away, but if you try and do these little incremental changes, you can improve. For various reasons, I've basically cut out fertiliser use altogether. I only put fertiliser on the forage crops because there's no clover there to feed it. I only spray pre-forage crops. We're starting to direct drill now, so we've got very little cultivations, not a great deal of tractor work, not much diesel used. We're cutting down cow size to try to make them more efficient. So we're trying to squeeze things in every direction that we can.
Reducing farm emissions is an extremely topical subject and is closely related to business efficiency. At Drumbeck near Ellen in Aberdeenshire, new entrant farmers Ben Lowe and Harriet Ross have been working together to build a business which is sustainable environmentally as well as economically.
We are tenant farmers. We just took the tenancy on in 2019. We're mainly arable, but we have bed and breakfast pigs to use the sheds and keep the straw on farm and utilise muck. Yeah,
so our cropping at the moment is we're predominantly winter crops. So we've got winter oats, winter oilseed rape, winter wheat, and we have malting spring barley. And with Harriet's dad's farm, we also have winter barley as well. So we're currently combining 700 acres with a further about 100 acres of environmental schemes and about 60 acres of grassland.
I'm a farming consultant with Strutton Parker.
And I work as an agronomist with AgriVista.
Definitely helps with the farm here at home. You take back a lot of things that you see out and about.
In 2019, the couple applied for the Resilient and Ready programme, an initiative delivered by Leaf, Linking Environment and Farming, and Corteva Agriscience to develop new and emerging sustainable farming champions.
We were very lucky to be selected onto that programme. So it's a 3-year programme, basically helping us, shape our business. We want to work with Leaf, moving forward, and we'll maybe become a demonstration farm and things like that. And we're working towards our Leaf Mark certificate. So the farm should be Leaf Mark by this time next year.
We've got a number of different crop trials on the farm. So starting with oilseed rape, we've got a variety trial. We've also, from a farm point of view, but also from an agronomy point of view, been looking at different drills, different ways of establishing crops in a view that some of the subsidies going forward might be reduced tillage. So rather than the farm standard, which is plough and power harrow drill, we're looking at things like strip tillage. A lot of the soils around here they're not very self-structuring, so they do still require some cultivation to get your soil structure right. So zero till doesn't really work for us up here with high rainfall as well. So things like a Missouri are quite interesting. So the idea is that you're cultivating 1/3 of the field, but 2/3 of the field are untouched.
The 4-metre Missouri drill replaces several traditional operations. The machine used by Ben and Harriet belongs to Alec Milne from Meikle Gordus at Fyvie, who's been developing a min-till system for many years.
You don't plough, it's a direct drill, so basically you can go straight into a stubble field and sow your crop. So you're saving in manpower, fuel, machinery, basically cheaper establishment. And it's kinder to the soil, increase the worms, and they increase the fertility, and on it goes. It's got a row of subsoilers in the front, which just makes it tell where the row of seed is going. It doesn't break up the whole mass of ground. There's no point in wasting energy and fuel where the seed's not going to be planted. So you just make it tell in a strip that the seed's going.
What are the benefits of strip tillage, and what else is there to consider?
Strip tillage, when it's done right, it doesn't disturb the ground as much. The soil structure remains in place for at least half to 2/3 of the field. So worms and things are undisturbed to an extent. Timeliness, so we were sowing at 1.6 hectares an hour compared to plough and sow, which you're lucky if you're doing half a hectare an hour by the time you do the plough and the power harrow drill. We were covering large acres of fields at the right time for sowing in a day. So if we had a look at the winter wheat establishment trial, we have followed diesel use in our strip till versus power harrow drill. So the Missouri strip till has been 16 litres a hectare from cultivation and establishment because it's all done within one pass, whereas the plough and power harrow combination has been 40 litres a hectare of diesel consumed, so there's quite a difference there. We did apply an extra application of slug pellets. Every time we've used the Missouri, which is over the last 2 years, we've had to apply slightly more slug pellets. But part of that might be that it's more us protecting the crop. Potentially, we do have some slug traps out there to monitor, but we are quite paranoid. Obviously, there's a lot of trash on the surface. So, and the other thing is weeds. So there was slightly more weeds present from the strip till. So there's an extra application of glyphosate and then a slightly earlier herbicide applied at T0, whereas the plough and sow, we applied the herbicide at T1. So there's slight changes, but it's all manageable so far.
We're looking at the carbon audit. So we've got two fields side by side that we've done the farm standard with, established the wheat, and then the other one we've used in the Missouri drill, just direct drilled into grass lay. So we're going to do the carbon audit of both that individual fields once we get the combine rolling.
I would certainly say get the basics right first. There's no point in having pretty pictures of soil maps on your wall if you've not sorted your pH or your soil structure's not right. That's the main thing to getting a crop off to the best start, is sow it on the right day into the best soil.
Some of the most important and valuable lessons in life come from others sharing their experiences. Many of us wonder what advice we would give to our younger selves. Glenrinnes Estate in the heart of Speyside is an organic farm and sporting estate. The 6,000-acre estate includes a gin and vodka distillery, along with a flock of 1,600 ewes, 160 cows, a red deer herd, and 100 acres of cereals. The manager of Glenrinnes Estate tells us about himself and how he's developed the business.
I'm Alistair Lang, born local in Glenrinnes. Decided a long time ago that I wanted to do agriculture. It was in the blood, and I went to SEC in Aberdeen. I went on and worked on a farm as a shepherd for 4 years. Well, I thought I'd change the kind of direction of my career, and I found a job as a trainee consultant with SEC. Started off as a consultant, then went to office manager, area manager, and ended up regional manager in charge of half of Scotland from offices from Forfar North. Well, I've been working with Glenrinnes Estate for the last 10 years. decided then to take the leap and try and come here and see how we get on.
Alistair joined Glenrinnes as estate manager in April 2019, and he manages a team of 13 people.
One of the big changes that I made was I introduced a herd of red deer to the estate. The market for venison's increasing. We had a roaming wild herd came on and ate down a lot of the crops and grass. So we had two options: we either fence them out or fence them in. I went for the latter because we could then utilise ground that wasn't fully utilised. One of the biggest problems is capital investment. I designed a forestry scheme to allow me to get a lot of the fences partly funded under the forestry grant scheme. And we're currently sitting with 300 breeding hinds on an area of 400 acres. Grassland management was neglected here from a long time, and one of the most important things in Glenrinnes is the grassland management. And especially in an organic situation, we did a lot more topping, a lot more stocking properly, and introducing or stitching in different seeds. So that was one of the biggest things. We managed to increase our grassland production. We've actually taken second cut silage, which we never used to do, and we've actually got surplus of silage compared to being running out. We've been involved in environmental schemes here in Glenrinnes for 15 years. We've planted a lot of woodland, we've planted hedges, and we saw the benefit of the hedges this winter, this lambing time. Just the shelter and the wind reduction in there. You know, Glenrinnes is a very windy glen, and we've seen a huge difference with the animals making use of that shelter. So everyone worries that they're losing 2 metres, but unfortunately, in the years to come, they'll gain 50 metres of shelter.
Alistair has been making important changes designed to improve the profitability and sustainability of the estate. How does he judge whether these measures are successful?
You know, everyone talks about benchmarking being the buzzword. Everyone's scared of benchmarking, but I think one of the big things is benchmarking comes in different guises. You know, our benchmarking with the grassland here is just, can we produce more of less area? Year on year, we want to see improvement. We want to see yield levels up. We want to see grassland production up.
So what advice does Alistair have?
I think you have to take risks to go forward if you want to develop, and that means you have to be willing to fail. I've never met someone that can do it all and not have any failures. You have to be able to fail and, okay, take it on the chin and just admit, yeah, that didn't work, move on, let's see how we can tweak it and do it. You need to sit back from your business and look at it from the outside, go away and look at other folks' businesses and just see what else is there without just running into ground in your own business. Advice is very important in anything you do. I took a lot of new advice for the deer farm, and I think it's very important to listen to everybody that's got advice. Go out, get people's advice, visit a lot of folk and design things to suit your situation. Organic was one of the main things that the owner's family wanted to go forward to. They want to be organic, they see it as the way forward for sustainability. In Glenrinnes, the sustainability of the crops, the grassland conservation is the must. The owner wants to have an estate that is there for the future. The more I see what we can do here and the way forward, I think it's the way most people should be looking at.
Hello, I'm Raymond and welcome to the Rural Roundup. Most farmers have now made winter forage with second cuts started in some areas. Remember to get your forage analysed to allow you to carry out a winter feed budget and plan your rations. Samples can be taken from 6 weeks after ensiling. Speak to your local consultant or industry rep to get this carried out. The South of Scotland Tree Planting Grant Scheme has been announced. It's a maximum grant of £1,000 for planting up to 1/4 of a hectare. Applicants are invited from Dumfries and Galloway and the Scottish Borders areas. Visit bordersforesttrust.org for more info. The bathing water season runs from the 1st of June to the 15th of September, and SEPA are encouraging farmers to follow the following practical steps. Do not spread slurry within 10 metres of a water course, a river, a stream, a burn or an open ditch. Watch the forecast and don't spread slurry within 48 hours of heavy rain. This is to avoid runoff. Maintain and repair fences along ditches and watercourses to avoid poaching by livestock within 5 metres of the watercourse. Ensure contaminating steading water cannot access clean water surface drainage around your farm, and maintain your roof water goods to ensure that clean roof water is not running over dirty water areas around your farm. Remember that fecal bacteria found in slurry has the potential to impact on water quality. Visit Farming Water Scotland or nationalrural@sepa.org.uk for more information. Stay tuned for more from FAS TV and the Farm Advisory Service.
Ears now emerging in winter wheat crops, and the flag leaf timing, the sprays have already gone on. So the crops have been fairly clean all season, and they're still really quite clean even this late on. A little bit of yellow rust in some crops, but generally that's quite well managed. So the main thing now is managing ear diseases. So wet weather, overflowering and ripening are the main risks for that. The best timing to manage fusariums and microdochiums in the crop is usually early in flowering where it coincides with a rainfall event. There's a little bit of scope to delay that if it's very dry, but not beyond the end of flowering. So this year, where some flag leaf sprays have been slightly later on, there's a slight temptation to delay that ear spray, but it is key that it's placed reasonably close to the infections event, which are usually when it's raining. The other thing to watch for at this time of year is just any kind of stem or root diseases that might be in the crop. So they will show themselves as white heads, but they could have a number of causes. If you find lots of stem-based browning and eye spot, or if you're looking at the roots and seeing lots of take-all, that will change how you might manage a subsequent crop in that field. So worth a look at this stage of growth. So winter barley crops are now ripening and are really beyond any spray timings, but there's no advantage to T3 or ear sprays in winter barley. There's very few years where they're cost effective anyway. So really gates are shut on the crop, and the only thing to maybe mention is that we've had a few reports of loose smut coming through on winter barley crops. So clearly when you see a seed-borne issue like loose smut, it's really important that that seed isn't kept for subsequent use as a seed crop. It is a disease that we're seeing more of. It's hard to manage with seed treatments, so just keep an eye on it if you're intending a crop for seed use. Flowering's finally finishing in the oilseed rape crops now. In the winter oilseed rapes, it was flowering for a very protracted period this year. But even allowing for that, the risk of sclerotinia has been quite low. So, you know, in this crop, a few petals have stuck, but typical of other crops, it's really not been particularly high risk for that disease. Really, the final thing to think about in the oilseed rape crop now is the risk of seed weevils. So if an insecticide is merited, the levels really have to be quite high. So that's at least 1 weevil per 2 plants. And then thinking about the spring crop, the risk of pollen beetles there. So again, at the green to yellow bud stage, once the crop's flowering, you don't need to worry about them. And again, stick to thresholds. So numbers have to be quite high, and that's 1 pollen beetle for every plant. So do stick to that threshold if you think an insecticide is needed. Spring barleys were obviously later drilled this year, and in cold conditions took a while to get going. It's now growing rapidly, and most crops are now at or around the booting to awns just peeping. This crop here at Bush has its awns just coming out. So just at the right timing for a ramularia spray. And the risk of ramularia is hard to predict this year. The cold temperatures may have reduced the risk, and certainly crops are otherwise quite clean. So the fungicides that are going on at this timing, doses can probably be reduced slightly. And for ramularia management, we're thinking of prothioconazole mixes or Revistar mixes. As with any late season pesticide application, though, do check for last application timings and for your user market. So whether you're growing for feed or for malt, the last application timings might be different, so check that.
Next time on FAS TV, we revisit King's Arms to see the lambs heading off to market. We examine the impact of future policy decisions on hill farmers. We find out about alternative methods of protecting seed potatoes from pests and diseases, and the impact of parasites on livestock and the environment.